Dr. Miho Kim wiped the sweat from his forehead as he watched the golden wheat sway in the afternoon breeze. New Eden was a beautiful world, with its purple sky and 2 small suns that painted everything in warm light. He had been studying the soil here for 3 years now, helping the colonists grow better crops. The work was peaceful and fulfilling. "Another good harvest coming," said Yuna Lee as she walked up to him. She carried a basket full of strange blue vegetables that grew only on this world. Her daughter Nari played nearby, chasing colorful insects that looked like tiny flying jewels. Miho smiled and nodded. This was what he loved about the colonies. Life was simple here. No rushing, no stress, just good honest work under alien suns. The Terran colonial administration had chosen well when they picked New Eden for settlement. The planet was rich in minerals and perfect for growing food. Far above them, a small defense satellite slowly turned in orbit. It looked harmless enough, just basic sensors and a few light weapons. Anyone watching from space would see exactly what they expected to see: a peaceful farming world with minimal protection. In the colony's main settlement, Farmer Daehoon Song checked the automated harvesters. The machines worked quietly in the fields, gathering crops with mechanical precision. To any observer, they were just farming equipment. Nothing special about them at all. The children ran to the streets, laughing and playing games. Elder Hyojin Park sat on her porch, watching them with kind eyes. She had been one of the first settlers here, back when New Eden was nothing but empty grassland. Now it was home to 50,000 people, all living quiet, happy lives. But Elder Park remembered things the younger colonists did not. She remembered why humanity had really come to the stars. It was not just to find new worlds to farm. It was to survive. And survival sometimes required more than farming tools. Deep in space, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, something waited. The hull was dark, designed to absorb light and sensor scans. Inside, men and women in military uniforms monitored dozens of screens. They watched over the colonies with silent dedication. Captain Salmon Choi stood on the bridge of her ship, studying reports from across human space. 17 colonies, all seeming peaceful and defenseless, all protected by invisible guardians that the galaxy knew nothing about. Any unusual activity? She asked her communications officer. Negative, Captain. All colonies report normal operations. The Zephyrians are still watching us, but they seem to believe what they see. Captain Choi nodded. That was exactly what they wanted. For 300 years, humanity had learned a hard lesson. In a galaxy full of aggressive species, the meek inherited nothing but graves. But the wise inherited everything. Back on New Eden, Dr. Miho Kim did not know about the hidden ships or the secret weapons. He only knew that his research was important. The new crops he developed could feed millions of people. The soil samples he studied might reveal secrets of alien worlds. His work mattered. Yuna Lee tucked her daughter into bed and told her stories about Earth, the distant world where humans had first looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. Little Nari listened with wide eyes, imagining the blue skies and single yellow sun of humanity's birth world. Will we ever see Earth, Mama? Nari asked. Maybe someday, Yuna replied, but this is our home now. We are helping humanity grow strong among the stars. She did not tell her daughter that strength came in many forms. The galaxy saw farmers and scientists when it looked at human colonies. It saw peaceful people who wanted nothing more than to tend their gardens and study the universe. This was not entirely wrong, but it was not entirely true either. In the colony's communication center, Daehoon Song received his daily reports from the other settlements. Crop yield, weather patterns, population growth, all the normal business of farming world. Hidden in the routine data were other messages, coded signals that only certain people would understand. The Zephyrian hegemony had been sending scout ships through human space for months now. Their sensors recorded everything they saw. Peaceful colonies with light defenses. Thousands of soft targets that could be taken easily by a military force. War Commander Thax studied the intelligence reports with satisfaction. Humans were weak, just as he had suspected. Their colonies would make excellent additions to the hegemony. The fertile worlds would feed Zephyrian armies. and the human population would serve as workers. He did not know that every one of the scout ships had been detected, tracked, and analyzed by sensors far more advanced than anything his people possessed. He did not know that his communications were being monitored and decoded in real time. He did not know that humanity was watching him just as carefully as he was watching them. On New Eden, the day ended as it always did. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. The colonists gathered for their evening meal, sharing food and stories. Children played until their parents called them inside. It was peaceful and perfect. Elder Hygiene Park looked up at the stars appearing in the darkening sky. Somewhere out there, she knew, dangerous things moved in the darkness. But she was not afraid. Humanity had learned to be patient. They had learned to wait. And when the time came, they would be ready. The dragon slept, but it slept with one eye open. The morning on New Eden started like any other. Dr. Mio Kim was checking his crop samples when the sky suddenly filled with fire. Massive ships dropped out of space, their hulls gleaming like metal teeth. The peaceful purple sky was torn apart by the roar of alien engines. Yuna Lee was hanging laundry when the first explosion shook the ground. She looked up to see their defense satellite burning like a falling star. "Nari!" she screamed, running toward the school where her daughter was playing. The Zephyrian warships were huge and ugly, built for war and nothing else. They had sharp edges and weapon ports that glowed with deadly energy. War Commander Thax stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the human colony below with cold satisfaction. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Show these farmers what real power looks like." Plasma cannons opened fire from orbit. The colony's communications center vanished in a ball of white light. The small medical clinic exploded into rubble. Buildings that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds. Dr. Miho Kim dove behind a storage shed as burning metal rained from the sky. He grabbed his emergency radio and tried to send a message. "This is New Eden. We are under attack. Unknown ships are firing on civilians." The radio crackled with static, then went dead. The communication arrays were already destroyed. Daehoon Song was working in the fields when he saw the landing ships descending like dark birds. He ran toward the colony center, but armed Zephyrian soldiers were already pouring out their transports. They were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms that moved with deadly grace. "Run!" Daehoon shouted to the other farmers. "Get to the emergency shelters." But there was nowhere to run. The Zephyrians had surrounded the colony with military precision. Their weapons fired bolts of energy that cut through everything they touched. Anyone who tried to resist was killed instantly. Yuna Lee reached the school just as Zephyrian soldiers kicked down the door. She could hear children screaming inside. "Please," she begged the soldiers. "They are just children." The soldier looked at her with eyes like black stones. "All humans are enemies of the hegemony," he said in broken human language. "You will serve or you will die." Elder Hygiene Park sat on her porch, watching the invasion with sad but unsurprised eyes. She had lived through the early days of human expansion, when pirates and raiders attacked the first colonies. She knew this day would come eventually. A young Zephyrian officer approached her. "Old woman, where are your weapons? Where are your soldiers?" "We have no weapons," she said quietly. "We are farmers." The officer laughed. "Then you are fools. The galaxy belongs to the strong." Elder Park said nothing. She knew things this young warrior did not know. She knew that far away, on other worlds, alarms were already sounding. She knew that sleeping giants were beginning to wake. On the distant world of Harvest Moon, the attack came at dawn. The colonists, they were growing special flowers that could cure diseases. The Zephyrian ships burned the flower fields to ash and captured everyone they could find. Terra Nova was hit during its night cycle. The miners there had been digging deep tunnels to extract rare metals. The Zephyrians collapsed the mines with their families still inside, then claimed the planet for themselves. War Commander Thax watched the reports from all 3 worlds with satisfaction. The humans had fallen exactly as predicted, weak, defenseless, and completely unprepared for real warfare. "Send a message to all human colonies," he ordered. "Tell them that these 3 worlds now belong to the Zephyrian hegemony. If they resist, they will share the same fate." But the message never reached its destination. Every human communication system in the area had been carefully destroyed during the first minutes of the attack. The colonies were cut off, isolated, and seemingly helpless. On New Eden, Dr. Miho Kim found himself locked in a storage building with 30 other prisoners. Yuna Lee was there with her daughter Nari, who cried quietly in her mother's arms. The little girl did not understand why the bad men had taken them away from their home. "What do they want?" whispered one of the farmers. "Our worlds," said Elder Hyojin Park. She had been captured despite her age. "They think we are weak." "We are weak," said another prisoner. "We have no army, no weapons. We are just farmers and scientists." Elder Park smiled a small, cold smile. "That is what they think. That is what we wanted them to think." Outside their prison, Zephyrian soldiers celebrated their easy victory. They had conquered 3 human worlds in a single day without losing a single ship. The humans were even weaker than their intelligence had suggested. But far away, on hidden bases scattered across human space, emergency signals were being received. Ancient protocols were being activated. People who had lived peaceful lives as farmers and researchers were remembering their other training. In the depths of space, Captain Samin Choi received the distress signals with a face like carved ice. Her hidden fleet had been waiting for this moment for decades. Now the time for hiding was over. On Earth, Admiral Jaiwoo Park stood before a wall of monitors showing the 3 attack colonies. His hands were steady, but his eyes burned with cold fire. "Signal all units," he said quietly. "The dragon wakes." Admiral Jaiwoo Park stood in the command center buried deep beneath Earth's surface. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps, fleet positions in the 3 burning human colonies. Officers moved quietly between workstations, their faces grim with purpose. "How long since the attacks began?" Admiral Park asked. 4 hours and 37 minutes, sir," replied Lieutenant Commander Harem Bay. "All 3 colonies are under complete Zephyrian control." Admiral Park nodded slowly. For 3 centuries, humanity had prepared for this moment. They had built their colonies to look weak and defenseless. They had trained their people to appear as simple farmers and scientists. But beneath that peaceful surface, they had been building something else entirely. "Activate Protocol 7, Admiral Park said." His voice was calm, but everyone in the room felt the weight of those words. "Send the authorization codes to all hidden installations." Across human space, things began to change. On the farming world of Green Valley, Farmer Jin Wuhan received an encrypted message on what looked like a simple weather monitoring device. He read the message once, then destroyed it. Jin Wu walked to his barn and pressed his hand against what appeared to be an ordinary wall panel. The wall slid aside, revealing a room filled with military equipment and communication arrays. The simple farmer was gone. In his place stood Colonel Jin Wuhan, commander of the 7th Strategic Defense Unit. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Mining operations revealed themselves as weapons factories. Research stations showed their true purpose as intelligence-gathering centers. Agricultural equipment transformed into military hardware with the touch of hidden switches. Captain Samin Choi felt her ship vibrate as the cloaking systems powered down. Around her, 17 other vessels became visible in the darkness of space. The ships were sleek and deadly, built with technology that made Zephyrian warships look like ancient relics. "All ships report ready for combat, Captain," said her weapons officer. "Signal the fleet," Captain Choi ordered. "We are going to send the Zephyrians a message they will never forget." On New Eden, Dr. Miho Kim sat in his prison cell, watching Zephyrian Guard patrol outside. The aliens seemed relaxed, confident in their victory. They had no idea what was coming. Elder Hyojin Park sat beside him, her old hands folded in her lap. She looked like a harmless grandmother, but her eyes held secrets. "How long do you think before they come for us?" Dr. Kim whispered. "Not long," Elder Park replied. "The dragon is stirring. I can feel it." War Commander Thack stood on the bridge of his flagship, admiring his easy conquest. 3 human worlds taken without a single casualty. His warriors had been disappointed by how simple it had been. "Commander," called his communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission from the humans." Put on screen, Thax ordered. He was curious to hear what the defeated farmers had to say. Admiral Jaiwu Park's face appeared on the view screen. He wore a simple uniform, but his presence filled the bridge with quiet authority. His voice was perfectly calm as he spoke. I am Admiral Park of the Terran Defense Force. You have attacked civilian colonies and murdered innocent people. You have exactly 1 hour to return all prisoners and withdraw from human space. This is your only warning. Thax laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his ship. Defense Force? What Defense Force? We destroyed your pathetic satellites and captured your helpless colonies. You have no military. Admiral Park's expression did not change. Commander, you have attacked farmers and scientists. But farmers and scientists are not all that humanity has to offer. You wanted to see our military. Very well. You will see it. The transmission ended. Thax turned to his officers, still chuckling. Scan for human ships. Show me this mighty fleet that thinks it can threaten the hegemony. His sensor officer worked frantically at his controls, then looked up with confusion. Sir, I am detecting massive energy signatures approaching our position, but there is nothing on visual sensors. What do you mean, nothing? Thax demanded. Before the officer could answer, space around the Zephyrian fleet began to shimmer. Ships appeared as if they were stepping out of nothingness itself. They were unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen, smooth, deadly, and radiating power that made their own vessels seem primitive. Captain Samin Choi smiled as her fleet materialized around the enemy forces. This is Captain Choi of the TDF Dragon's Wrath. You are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender now or be destroyed. Thax stared at the human ships in disbelief. Where had they come from? How had they appeared without being detected? His scanners were showing energy readings that should have been impossible. Open fire, he screamed. Destroy them all. The Zephyrian ships opened fire with everything they had. Plasma bolts and energy beams struck the human vessels, and simply vanished. The attacks seemed to hit some kind of invisible barrier that absorbed the energy without even flickering. Our turn, Captain Choi said quietly. The human ships did not fire conventional weapons. Instead, they projected beams of pure force that reached out like invisible hands. Zephyrian vessels were crushed like tin cans, their hulls crumpling as gravity wells formed around them. One enemy ship tried to escape, but space itself seemed to fold around it. The vessel was caught in a bubble of twisted reality and simply ceased to exist. War Commander Thax watched his fleet being destroyed by forces he could not understand. These were not the simple farmers he had expected to fight. These were warriors with technology beyond his comprehension. How? He whispered. Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system, reaching every Zephyrian ship. You thought we were weak because we chose peace. You were wrong. We are strong because we chose to be ready. The dragon was awake. It was hungry for justice. The counterattack began in silence. Lieutenant Commander Harambe sat in a hidden bunker beneath the surface of Mars, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Around her, dozens of technicians worked at stations that pulsed with blue light. Initiating cyber infiltration, she announced. Target: all Zephyrian military networks. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian computers began to fail. Not all at once, but in a carefully planned sequence that looked like random accidents. Communication systems went silent. Weapon targeting computers displayed error messages. Life support systems flickered and died on military stations. War Commander Thax tried to contact his other fleets, but his communication arrays showed only static. What is happening? He demanded of his technical officer. Sir, all our systems are malfunctioning. It appears to be some kind of virus, but our firewall should have stopped any attack. Thax did not know that human technology was 300 years more advanced than anything his people had ever imagined. The cyber attacks were not breaking through Zephyrian defenses. They were simply walking around them like they did not exist. Captain Samin Choi watched the enemy fleet struggle with their failing systems. Her ship, the Dragon's Wrath, moved through space like a hunting predator. The vessel was 2 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could tear holes in reality itself. Begin rescue operations, she ordered. Get our people out of there. Transport ships materialized around New Eden, their hulls shimmering with the same technology that had kept them hidden. The ships were not large, but they moved with impossible speed and grace. On the planet's surface, Zephyrian soldiers watched in confusion as human ships descended toward their prisoner camps. The aliens raised their weapons and fired, but the energy bolts passed harmlessly through the rescue craft. "They're using some kind of phase technology," reported a Zephyrian ground commander. "Our weapons cannot touch them." Dr. Miho Kim felt the walls of his prison cell begin to vibrate. A section of the wall simply faded away, revealing two figures in advanced armor. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but he could hear human voices. "Dr. Kim, we are here to get you out. Please move quickly." Unilee clutched her daughter Nari as the rescue team led them through the dissolving wall. "How are you doing this?" she whispered. "Long story," replied one of the soldiers. "Right now, we need to get you to safety." Elder Hyojin Park smiled as she was helped onto the transport ship. "I told you the dragon would wake," she said to Dr. Kim. The rescue took exactly 17 minutes. Every human prisoner was extracted, while Zephyrian forces could only watch helplessly. Their weapons would not fire, their communications were dead, and their enemies seemed to exist in a different reality. War Commander Thax screamed orders that no one could hear. His flagship was losing power, and emergency lights cast eerie shadows across the bridge. Through the viewport, he could see human ships moving like ghosts among his fleet. Captain Samin Choi decided it was time to demonstrate humanity's true capabilities. Target the enemy flagship. Use the matter disruptor. A beam of invisible energy reached out from the dragon's wrath. Where it touched the Zephyrian vessel, the metal hull simply came apart at the molecular level. A perfect hole appeared in the ship's side, smooth as glass and utterly impossible by any known science. "Impossible?" Thax breathed. "What kind of weapon can do that?" His question was answered by Admiral Jaiwoo Park's voice. Broadcast directly into his mind through technology the Zephyrian could not comprehend. "You attacked our children," the Admiral said. "You murdered our farmers and scientists. You thought we were weak because we chose to live in peace. Now you will learn what happens when you threaten what we protect." On the other two captured worlds, similar scenes played out. Human ships appeared from nowhere, moving through Zephyrian defenses like they were made of paper. Rescue teams extracted every human prisoner, while enemy forces found themselves completely helpless. Daehoon Song had been working in a forced labor camp on Harvest Moon when the walls around him simply vanished. He looked up to see a human soldier reaching down to help him. "Time to go home, farmer," the soldier said with a grin. The Zephyrian military base on Terra Nova was consumed by what looked like controlled black holes. The weapons that created them were so advanced that they seemed like magic. Gravity itself became a tool of war in human hands. War Commander Thax watched his empire's military might crumble in a matter of hours. Ships that had taken years to build were destroyed in seconds. Bases that had stood for decades disappeared without a trace. His people's superior technology was revealed to be nothing more than primitive tools. "How long have you been preparing for this?" he transmitted to Admiral Park. 300 years, came the reply. "We learned long ago that peace is only possible when you are too dangerous to attack. We chose to appear weak so that we could live in peace. But when you threaten our people, you face our true strength." Captain Samin Choi received new orders from Earth. The message was simple and terrible. Total military disarmament of Zephyrian space. No exceptions. The dragon was fully awake now, and its wrath would reshape the galaxy. The Zephyrians had awakened something they could never have imagined, a sleeping giant that had been patient for centuries, but would be patient no longer. The real war was just beginning. 3 weeks later, the Zephyrian hegemony no longer existed as a military power. Captain Samin Choi stood on the bridge of the Dragon's Wrath, watching the final Zephyrian battle station dissolve under controlled nanoscale weapons. The massive fortress simply came apart piece by piece, its metal components separating and floating away like dust in space. "Target neutralized," reported her weapons officer. "All military installations in this system have been eliminated. Any civilian casualties?" Captain Choi asked. "None, Captain. All Zephyrian civilians have been evacuated to safe zones as ordered. This was how humanity fought their war, with surgical precision that destroyed military capability while protecting innocent lives. Every Zephyrian warship, every weapons factory, every military base was systematically dismantled. But the alien civilians were left unharmed, relocated to worlds where they could rebuild their lives in peace. War Commander Thax sat in a detention cell aboard Admiral Jaiwu Park's flagship. Through the transparent wall, he could see Earth growing larger as the ship approached humanity's homeworld. The blue and white planet looked peaceful and beautiful, nothing like the military powerhouse it truly was. Admiral Park entered the cell, carrying a simple chair. He sat down across from the defeated Zephyrian commander and studied him with calm eyes. "I do not understand," Thax said. "How did farmers and scientists become the most powerful military force in the galaxy?" "We were never just farmers and scientists," Admiral Park replied. "We were humans, and humans learn from their mistakes." He gestured to the viewport showing Earth. 300 years ago, we were weak. Other species attacked our early colonies, enslaved our people, treated us like animals. We could have become bitter and violent. Instead, we chose to become patient and prepared. "You deceived the entire galaxy," Thax accused. "We allowed the galaxy to see what it expected to see," Admiral Park corrected. "Peaceful farmers tending their crops, scientists studying alien worlds. But beneath that surface, we built something else. We built the capability to protect ourselves absolutely." On New Eden, Dr. Miho Kim walked through his rebuilt research facility. The Zephyrian attack had destroyed his original laboratory, but the new one was better than anything he had ever imagined. Advanced equipment hummed quietly around him, and through the windows he could see massive orbital defense platforms floating serenely in the purple sky. Una Lee found him studying soil samples that sparkled with unknown properties. Her daughter Nari played nearby, building castles with blocks that defied gravity and glowed with soft light. "Strange to think this was all here before," Una said, gesturing at the advanced technology surrounding them. "Hidden beneath our simple lives." "Was it hidden?" Dr. Kim asked, "or were we just not ready to see it?" The answer came from Elder Hyojin Park, who entered the laboratory moving with surprising energy for her age. "Both," she said with a knowing smile. "The strength was always there. But strength without wisdom is just destruction. We had to learn to be wise before we could safely be strong." Across the galaxy, other species watched the transformation of human space with growing amazement and fear. The Altarian Trade Federation had dismissed humans as insignificant farmers. Now they saw agricultural worlds defended by weapons that could shatter moons. The crystalline hierarchy had considered humans too young and primitive to matter. Now they realized that human research stations were actually monitoring posts equipped with sensors that could detect a whisper across star systems. On the former Zephyrian capital world, Lieutenant Commander Harem Bey supervised the construction of a new type of installation. It was not a military base or a weapons platform. It was a monitoring station designed to watch for signs of aggression and prevent future wars before they could begin. "The Zephyrians seemed confused by our approach," reported her aide. "They expected us to occupy their worlds and enslave their people." "That is what they would have done," Harem replied. "But we are not them. We fight to protect, not to conquer." Admiral Jaiwu Park stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Centauri Prime. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their floating chairs, all listening with careful attention to his words. "Humanity has no desire to rule over other species," he said. "We want only to live in peace and pursue knowledge. But understand this, we are capable of protecting what we cherish." A representative from the Vegan Confederacy raised a tentacled arm. "What guarantee do we have that humanity will not use this power to dominate the galaxy?" Admiral Park smiled, and his expression was both gentle and terrible. "You have the same guarantee you always had. We choose not to, but that choice is ours to make." The message was clear to everyone in the chamber. Humanity could conquer the galaxy if they wished. Their technology was centuries ahead of everyone else. Their military capability was beyond measurement, but they chose peace instead of conquest, protection instead of domination. Back on New Eden, the day ended as it always did. The twin suns set behind the mountains, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Children played in the streets while their parents prepared dinner. It was peaceful and perfect. But now everyone knew the truth. The farmers were gardeners of worlds. The scientists were guardians of knowledge. And the dragons that protected them slept with one eye always open, ready to wake if anyone threatened the peace they had chosen to preserve. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their wisdom to choose peace while maintaining the absolute power to enforce it.